What's up, guys? I'm BTC. We just got a brand new balance patch. This is going to affect all of the regular games. It's not an experimental mode. I don't know why they haven't been using experimental mode. I mean, they weren't exactly super consistent with it before, but at least every now and again they would have a new balance patch and they would try it out in experimental. And sometimes they would say, okay, maybe this isn't a good idea, but they haven't been doing that at all lately. And they just say, okay, we're going to make these changes, these big drastic changes, and if they don't work, well, you know, so what? The game will be unbalanced for another month until we make another patch. I don't know why they're not using the experimental. Anyways, here are the patch notes, or, well, the nerfs mostly. We do have a nerf to Doomfist. His rocket punch, which already feels like a wet noodle, has been increased in cooldown from 3 to 4 seconds because, I mean, it's already awful, so why not make it more awful? His power block, which is just... his power block is one of the worst abilities in the entire game. The minimum damage mitigated required to empower the rocket punch has been increased from 80 to 100. So they made a bad ability even worse, and now it takes even more damage. And then his best defense passive, temporary health gained per target, has been decreased from 40 to 35. This is the only thing that I actually agree with. Actually, you know, hey, hang on. I want to see if they fix this. Nope, they didn't. It's still bugged. Good job, Blizzard. Good job. By the way, his seismic slam doesn't hit like half the time. If there's any sort of... like, look at that. Look at that. And it's not going to get patched. You know how long that's going to be in the game? Quite a while. Anyways. So, they made a bunch of nerfs to Doomfist. The only one that I actually agree with is his passive. They just made the other stuff even worse. So next up is going to be Orisa. They changed her ultimate, which is, it will now pierce through barriers upon impact. So it does a little bit better for the ultimate. I mean, the ultimate seems kind of, I don't know, it seems kind of for me anyways. I mean, yeah, it can be useful in some situations, but I don't know. It feels like it takes way too long to actually be effective. Also, the attack, the primary, the fall-off range has been increased from 15 to 25. So now you will do more damage at quite a bit more range. So 15 to 25, that's a pretty good buff for her damage. Next up is going to be the Ramattra character, which many of you probably haven't even been able to play yet, unless you bought the Battle Pass. Movement speed increased by 20% for the Nemesis form. So you can move a little bit faster and chase people down. I guess that's pretty solid. That's a pretty good buff. Armor bonus has been increased from 150 to 225. Also, nice little buff. We'll show you in just a second here. So Ramattra gets some pretty nice little buffs. And the Void Barrier, the cooldown was reduced from 15 seconds down to 13 seconds. So also a nice little buff. I don't think it lasts long enough. I mean, you don't want it to be there for too long, but I feel like the current duration is a little too quick, right? Like, look at that. I don't know, like maybe add an extra second or two to that. I think that would... again, barriers can be annoying to deal with, but I don't know. It just feels like it doesn't last long enough on that one. Next one is Sojourn, who is, unsurprisingly, getting a whole bunch of nerfs. So the primary attack, the spread has been increased by 28%. What this means is that at close range, it's not that big of a deal, big of a deal, but at longer range, it is now going to be a mess. I mean, look at that. Hang on, let me reload. Let's try over here. Like, look at that. That's like a 5-meter spread over there. So that is definitely going to make her long range stuff not nearly as good. That's where the railgun comes into play, right? Obviously, that's pinpoint accuracy. So that's the long range is now for the railgun. Next up is the Disruptor Shot, which no longer slows enemy movement. And honestly, I don't know I don't know why it ever had that. Like, to me, that just, like, it seemed like it was one of the most bloated, unnecessary abilities because, right, like, she's a DPS character. She had a huge AoE slow that also did a pretty good amount of damage. Oh, I guess the voice line doesn't work anymore. She just said stay put when she used the voice line. I guess that doesn't work anymore because it doesn't have the slow anymore. Anyways, I think it's a good idea to get rid of the slow on that. It doesn't need to be there. Next up is the power slide. The cooldown has been increased from 6 seconds to 7 seconds. So basically what they're doing is they're not completely dealing with the, the damage, like the railgun damage. They're not dealing with that. Instead, what they're doing is they're making it harder to actually build the railgun, which seems kind of stupid and the opposite of what they should be doing. So now your accuracy is not going to be as good because of the gigantically increased 28% spread. So now you're not going to be able to build the railgun as fast, and therefore it should be less of an issue, kind of indirectly. I don't know. Next up is going to be Tracer, who is actually getting a buff. I mentioned she was getting a nerf in my previous video. That was wrong, obviously. It is a slight damage decrease of 6 to 5.5, but keep in mind that's for every single attack, so it adds up. Next up is Ana, who's getting a few kind of nice buffs. The first is going to be her damage and healing has been increased from 70 up to 75, so that's not too bad. But the big change for her is now the Bionade lasts for 4 seconds instead of 3 seconds. That extra second definitely feels like a very long time, especially if you're playing a tank, bruiser, or whatever, and you're waiting for your team to heal you, and it now takes 4 seconds. That definitely feels like it like an eternity sometimes. Next up is Kiriko, who is getting a nerf. Her protection Suzu, the invulnerability duration, has been reduced from 1 second down to 0.85 seconds. So I don't really know what the point of that was. I mean, it's so insignificant. It's not really going to do anything. Like, it just seems like a really, really dumb and unnecessary change. It's so minuscule, right? Like, whatever you were going to debuff them, whether it was an anti or whatever, right? Whatever you're using it for, I just don't see how, 0.15 of a second is not, it's not going to be significant enough. I don't know. To me, it feels like they're just moving numbers around because they feel like they need to, and it's not like an actual intelligent decision that they're making. They're just doing it because they feel like they should or something. I don't know. Anyways, so those are going to be the patch notes. There was also a bug fix that was fixed on the new Shambali map. Doomfist is, of course, still bugged like he always is. And, oh man, that's so... Whoa, look at that. That's like... He could level up skyscraper. Oh, what a joke. Anyways, there you go, guys. Those are the changes, most of them being nerfs. What do you think? Let me know down below.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take